All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome. I would like to call to order this evening's regular monthly meeting of the Stevensville School District Board of Trustees. It is June 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We'll start by checking in and doing a roll call of our trustees, just because things have changed since our last meeting, plus some formalities. Fran? Here. Chris?
Here.
Billy?
Here.
Jen?
Here.
Stephanie is here. Skip?
Here.
Gail? Here. And Tony, are you here?
Tony, you back?
I am. I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. We have seated a full board this evening. Mr. Coden, do we have any special guests or visitors here today to introduce?
Yeah, a couple. One I'd like to talk about. She'll be helping me present tonight through her Intuit. Is Hannah Hauser, who is our new director for the Health Science Academy. And so I want to acknowledge her here, as well as Deborah Smith, who will be speaking to a little bit on the REACT program. And Bitterroot Cares is the organization you're from, correct? And she'll be part of our informational portion also.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else have anybody to recognize? Perfect. Let's move on to some board and public comment. The purpose of public comment segment of our agenda is for the community to bring matters forward that are not currently on the agenda for the attention of the board and for the board's information for consideration at a later date. Please be aware that this is a listening period only. The board is unable to comment, engage in any discussion or decisions regarding public comment items since they are not specified on the public meeting agenda. This is to ensure fairness and to remain in compliance with Montana's open meeting laws. Once you've been given the floor, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes per individual out of respect for time for all members present. This is not a time to raise personnel issues. To avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, please do not make any comments referencing any student, staff member, or member of the general public at this time. Board, does anybody have any public comment this evening? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I'd just like to thank the teachers, the staff, the administration for an amazing graduation. It was beautiful. The choir was amazing. The band was amazing. I think it ran super, super well, and it was great. A great community event.
I want to second what Jennifer said because she stole my thunder, but also want to thank you all because my last one just graduated miraculously. It was an interesting last year, but I mean, you guys had a huge part in and even like Tracy Rockstad that was just here had a huge part in who she is now, and I just want to thank you for the time and the investment in her, and just really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
I would triple down on that, I guess. My first graduated, so the whole week I think was well done. I mean, did the different events throughout the week. Made it an enjoyable, memorable experience, and that's what it's all about. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that was my first graduation that I've ever gone to, and I was so impressed, especially by the students that spoke, like just how personal, but how smart they are. I was really blown away, and it made me excited just to see. I hope that, I don't know, others that were out in the crowd and other students that attended were just excited, and especially the recognition of the students that had done well with their grades. Like, I think, they're wearing many hats, and the fact that they did so well. And so I just thought it was really well done. So,
I also was very impressed by graduation, but what happens to me during graduations is I watch all the students, all the graduates coming up in their robes, and I picture them this big. And then I start thinking about Mrs. Motley and my kid in kindergarten and the whole big picture process and how everybody just has a hand, and I guess kind of what Chris is talking about, like just the whole process and the culmination of all of these events, all these moments, all these humans who have factored into these students' lives to build them up and launch them off. So thank you guys all for that and for another successful year and being able to wrap up the school year. That's a pretty big deal. And then just a custodial note to the board, I wanted to throw out there, committee assignments are coming. I realized committee meetings between a couple weeks ago and now. So the idea of getting our final board members seated, so we didn't have to redo those assignments, sounded great to me. So now we'll put it together and we'll get those out later this week. Any other board comment? Admins?
I just thank you for the kind words, and so much of that credit goes to everybody who kind of helped plan that. I mean, flowers and number, I mean, getting ready for graduation starts a long time ago. And, you know, Dave's crew with maintenance, getting everything set up. Even because we're blessed to be all right next to each other, elementary, middle school, you have to coordinate all of that. And so for everybody to move dates around to accommodate our seniors, to have track meets at certain times so we can set the stage up early and have a good practice. Stevensville is unique in how much coordination has to happen. And so thanks to everybody who helped make that coordination happen.
Is there any public comment at this time from the community? All right, well, thank you guys. Let's get to business. We're gonna start off this evening with our consent agenda. Glenda, do you have any notes on the visa payments, the claims, or the minutes in our packet from May 12th and May 19th?
Yes, we'll start with the claims. There is an adjustment.
I have an adjustment to claim 43657 for Cisco. They accidentally provided duplicate invoices, so the claim will actually now only be $3,623.20.
Excellent. Thank you for that update.
And then to the minutes, all adjustments have been made to the May 12th and the May 19th minutes that were emailed out. All of those adjustments have been made and corrected.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the visa payments, claims, or minutes included in tonight's consent agenda and in your board packets? Does any board member have a consent agenda item that they would like to have removed at this time? Okay, is there any public comment on the consent agenda items this evening of our visa claims, our claims, and our minutes from May 12th and 19th? Very good. The consent agenda this evening includes, I'm on the wrong note. Thank you guys for your patience while I'm clunky. The consent agenda of any trustee pertains only to the items they have the authority to decide on, and if there is no objection, these agenda items will be adopted by unanimous consent. Hearing no objection, these consent agenda items are now approved by unanimous consent. Thank you. We will now move on to approval of employment. We have a few categories this evening. Tonight we have for district-wide. We have, we're gonna start with, it's hiring, apologies. For district-wide, we have Matthew Forst and Roy Adams for a long-term custodian substitute. Do we have a motion to approve the district-wide hires as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Billy and Jen? Is there any questions or discussion about district-wide hires as presented? Any public comment? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Make sure to get Tony too.
Oh, Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on to district-wide staff non-substitute positions. We have Molly Hilbrun for the summer kitchen staff position and Zoe Spears for the summer kitchen staff position. Do I have a motion to accept the two positions as presented?
So moved.
Jen?
Second.
Fran is a second. Are there any questions or discussions about the district-wide staff? Any public comment? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Tony. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, we have a list of elementary staff. Primarily, this group of staff is filling out our activities, and I'm gonna turn you down just a little bit, Tony. So speak up if you need us. Doing activities, athletics, and summer positions, with the exception of Tyler, is it Cheeseman? Who will be our elementary school counselor. So we have Kimberly Moore, Shane Yaskis, Clayton Curley, Zach Larson, Tyler Cheeseman, Riley Boulder, Margaret Zilla, Kimberly Moore, Jennifer French, Kathleen Braverman, Deborah Stevens, Jamie Prost, Nicole Euler, Emma Blyton, Emily Hicks, CJ Tolson, Jennifer Walthall, and Deborah Stevens. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the elementary staff hires as presented.
Thank you, Fran. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gail. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or conversations from the board? Any public comment or questions? Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor of,
To do individual.
I said that like a second ago. Thank you. All right. Gail, how do you vote for the elementary district hires? Do you vote aye or?
Aye.
Thank you. Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
It's probably my wife Skip, just
Is that your phone?
stop the meeting and answer this.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the high school district hires. Thank you so much. Again, we have people filling out clubs, athletics, activities, and summer positions, with the exception of Andrew Drennan. Drennan? Okay, thank you. Who as our ELA teacher, and Alexandria Sobin as our Stevensville Health and Science Academy science teacher. So we have the two mentioned, as well as Robert Ryan, Margaret Zilla, Chase Tucker, Chris Talbot, Camden Johnson, Jeffrey Armour, Tyler Cheeseman, Jessica Stokes, Margaret Zilla, and as mentioned, Alexandria Sobin. Is there a motion for the high school hires?
So moved.
Jen, is there a second?
Second.
Jen and Fran, motion moved and seconded. Is there any board discussion or questions? Chris?
Yeah, like 15 seconds on Tyler Cheeseman's background, just since basketball's near and dear to me with my daughter.
Absolutely. So she'll be the elementary school counselor, coming over from St. Regis. All right, she was the head coach for girls for St. Regis for 5 years.
Cool.
And so just to go on that, Marge Zilla will be staying on as an assistant with her, so we have to start there. Jason Harriet's been running open gyms once a week, so trying to keep the momentum going there. We will be posting the second assistant coach position relatively soon. All right. So yeah, we're moving. We're going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Any questions from the public? All right. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second, and it is the high school district. So all in favor of approving the high school district hires, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to resignations. District-wide resignations this evening. We have Philip Neely, part-time custodian, as well as substitutes that have termed out due to 12+ months of inactivity, of Abigail Bates, Sebastian Driver, Daniel Thackeray, and Rachel Umland. Is there a motion to approve the district-wide resignations as presented?
So moved.
Billy
Second.
and Jen. Motion and seconded. Is there any questions from the board? Yes, sir.
Just educate me on substitutes turned due to inactivity, 12 months. I can explain that, what that means.
Would one of you care to answer?
Yeah, so their fingerprints and background checks are only good for a year. And if they don't sub within a year time frame, we just term them and then they just have to reapply and go through the process all over again. It's just kind of a cleanup, keeping our records straight.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Any questions from the public? Excellent. Thank you. We have a motion and a second for district-wide resignations. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion passes. Moving on to elementary district resignations. We have Clayton Curley as the middle school assistant track coach, Dakota Wilton as the 4th grade teacher, Jessica Lund as an ELP teacher, Heather Hansen as a special education paraprofessional in the elementary district. Is there a motion to accept the elementary district resignations as presented?
So moved.
Skip?
Second.
Thank you, Gail. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or conversation about these resignations from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, thank you. Since it's an elementary district, come on, we'll go down the line. Gail, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Brandon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And Vicki, will you help me? I know my voice doesn't carry, and I also feel like I'm yelling, so will you help me, let me know if I need to get louder or quieter? All right, thank you.
Sounds good.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, one more set of resignations in the high school district. We have Matea Bevington and Dakota Wilton, our ELA teacher and head cheer coach. Dakota Wilton is her head cheer coach position. Is there a motion to accept the high school district resignations as presented?
So moved.
Jen?
Second.
Billy seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Excellent. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Thank you very much. That batch of business is completed. Can we move on to some informational items? And Mr. Conan, do you want to launch into our student body representative report?
I cannot. Should have probably not had that on here since school is out. We do not have a student representative, but we do have a new student representative.
Yeah.
It will be, I'll
Our
hand
new
it over.
student body representative is going to be Carter Cole.
Oh,
He'll be a
wonderful.
sophomore next year, and we'll pick it back up in September, so.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. That's exciting. All right, moving on to the REACT program presentation.
Excellent. Before I introduce our presenter for the REACT presentation, this is a program that I learned about in a previous school when I was a high school principal, and it was something that helped get the word out and spread information about mostly what we were using it for was tobacco prevention. And we had in this school a pretty big vape problem, and the kids really took over a lot of the advocating for what we're doing. And this REACT group definitely helped organize a movement within our school. We actually saw the referrals go down from one year to the next year after putting that REACT program in. And so I know Deborah is going to speak a little bit more to what the program actually is and how it's coming about and why we're bringing it here. It definitely connects to what we've been talking about as administrators, especially in our last school improvement team meeting. We talked about we've seen an increase in our district of violations for vaping, and we would love to be able to take this on. And this is one way that I think we can empower our students with that. So that's just a kind of a little introduction. And with that, I will hand it over to Deborah Smith from Bitterroot Cares. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. Bitterroot Cares is a nonprofit that has funding from DFC and opioid, so that you can have confidence that we're going to start, and we have the funding to continue for many years. So we'll be here for a while. Our passion is to reduce drug use in the Valley and increase protective factors. And we believe that REACT Group is a perfect way for the kids to be youth-led to influence other kids in the community. We have tons of evidence-based support that tells you that we will do the following: develop coping skills, decision-making, goal-setting, communication, stress management, refusal skills. And if that wasn't enough, that alone makes me think that REACT is good for our student body, but it also builds resilience, makes healthy choices. We see a huge increase in peer relationships, and we get to see kids really deep dive in their community and lead one another to make good choices. So we're proposing to offer to lead a REACT group in your high school, and we're offering it to middle school. It would be free to your school, and we have funds through our DFC grant, through opioid money, through public health. So, and REACT Plus, because we're going to include alcohol, not just tobacco. We believe that this could be profoundly impactful for your community. We're also offering life skills, which we know some schools have asked to include in their health programs, some in their PE, some for like an extracurricular. We've given the life skills curriculum to you to take a look at, and it is also evidence-based, and frankly, it works beautifully with the REACT program because it teaches, my very favorite unit is it teaches kids to successfully say no to their peers. And if we had to say what is the biggest thing that kids have a hard time, it's practicing how to say no in a way that allows them to save face and continue having relationships. So this program allows them to understand what drugs are, to know how to say no, to making really good, solid choices. Do you guys have any questions?
And the point of this is to get information in front of you this board meeting, bring it back in the July board meeting as an item for you to vote on, and ask questions from now until then. But can you kind of talk about how this has been set up in other schools and what it actually looks like? What if I was a student, what would I actually do for this group, and how do you meet, when do you meet, that kind of stuff?
So we meet weekly, and some schools in the Valley have met, and the student body leads things like Red Ribbon Week. Some of the schools have put on like prevention dances, some join sports activities and do things like get the prevention word out. One example is one school actually sold popcorn in prevention cups, and then the money that would have went for the popcorn goes back to the school. So they did like informational videos for other kids to see. The really hard thing is it's student led. So if I said, this is what yours is gonna look like, I can say it's gonna look like what your students think your community needs the most, with our person guiding them with a ton of options that have been seen in other schools.
One of the things that we used it for, we had a group of kids called Bleed Blue Broadcasting, and they created like a podcast series where they would invite kids in and they talk all about that, but they usually center on one of the topics that they've been talking about, and then bring some students on, and then we created it's actually a video podcast, and then push that out to the student body. Some of it we used during our daily announcements that we had, and it was very powerful to get some of those clips out, and then kids would watch the longer videos on them that they created. They also created some short little clips, almost like advertisements that go with what they were doing, and so that was pretty powerful to again, trying to find someone to run that. So tell us a little bit more about how, like, who's in charge, like who helps this group like get together and meet.
We have a youth specialist.
Okay.
Who her primary job next year is going to be REACT groups, because not only will she be working with REACT groups, but if they want after school activities, she'll be available to do those. Like one of the things we're really excited about, and we want kids to create a sort of an informational booklet that can introduce them to the school and really give wellness and life skills advice. And some high schools have made it and then copy it and then give to freshmen. So there's way more power when it's from students to students.
Dan, a quick question for you. It sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is gonna apply to all students. I love the student-led approach to it. I just had a question about, is there anything, especially with that youth specialist, that provides resources for repeat offenders? Because I would say 80% of my vaping in my building is maybe a handful of kids that are repeating and are continuing to do it and are not getting that support of they have an addiction to it already, so how are we addressing that? Like prevention is already, we're past that point. I'm just curious, and we can maybe connect later about thoughts of how to support those students.
So we're working with the SROs in some of the schools to support them. That's what we did last year. We're actually creating a program that includes community service for Darby. So we really try to link arms with you to like listen to what you guys want and then to see how we can step aside to make that happen.
Okay. Thanks.
Question. How do you've been doing this for how long?
I have been in charge of Bitter at Care as the director for a year.
So how do you get honest feedback from kids who have actually been positively affected by this, as opposed to the kids who just tell you what you want to hear, which I'm sure there's a lot of those.
Right. We've used like 3 different ways. One, your kids are already taking a survey that the YB, do you remember what it is? The
Youth risk behavior survey.
That's one way. The school chose not to do the MP. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic and it shows itself right this very second. The MNP. There's a whole bunch of other letters with it, right? Letters just float in my head. If your school system chose to do that, not only would we actually help pay for it because it gives more information, but the kids are quite frankly brutally honest in those because nobody knows who does them. And then we do things like Survey Monkeys. And when kids know that they can just give feedback, they often will be honest about what's happening within the school. We've met with like some student councils to get feedback on what their perspective is. And they're pretty consistently, we've heard the problem is middle school, which cracks me up because, you know, they're high school and they think all the problems are usually middle school. So does that answer your questions? Yeah.
Does this encourage peer surveillance? And does it address any of the root causes of stress, anxiety, social pressures, issues like that?
Both React and life skills do. When we first talked about it, with anxiety growing, stress growing, mental health growing, wellness growing, we believe that all of those things are the protective factors that our kids need. And one of the best ways to get kids to make good choices is if they have good things around them. So it's one of the things that Bitterroot Cares is most passionate about. That being said, if you guys could encourage your kids, we are doing a summer art wellness at the library, and we're doing it like in Darby, Hamilton, Stevie, and Victor. So we're actually encouraging middle schoolers to come and grow some of those skills that we think will help reduce some of their stress and anxiety.
Where can we find that schedule to share that?
At the Bitterroot Library, or I'm sorry, at all of the libraries. We are partnering with them, so they all put it in their summer activities.
Perfect.
I know I've seen it on Facebook too. I didn't know, you know, what you
Yeah.
said, but I know I've seen the poster about it on Facebook somewhere.
And you're working primarily or just with high school students, or are you working across all the ages?
Our mission is from middle school to high school.
Excellent. Thank you.
Does it create any division as an approved group or a problem group? When you start telling on each other, how do you deal with that? I'm just curious. I think it's a good plan. I can see where it could have issues pop up.
I only have heard it now.
Say it again, Tony?
How do you deal with the students without dividing the students, where you have one group that feels like they are approved and they're behaving properly and they're continually reporting the problem group of students? How do you stop that division from happening inside the school? So
I think it's primarily important to remember that React is not encouraging one group to go against another group, but rather link arms with each other to move forward. So we haven't seen a bunch of React groups where we have the one group who thinks they're doing what is good and the other group where they're divided and angry and you guys should do what is right. It's really focused on how can we step aside each other and move forward. So I think because of the mission of really how can we impact the community and the other students, we don't see a lot of infighting within the groups.
Fantastic. Thank you. One question I have is, I know you guys are talking about this, but what do you need from the district for support and implementation? And I'm sure some of that's going to come to us in July.
Right.
Yeah. For our part, we need to know if your school wants to have a React group. We have 4 slots open, and I've saved the slot for this school, assuming that things are going to work and we're going to do it. So we would need, yes, we can have it, and then what you would need from us as far as getting our people background checked and organizing the time of when we have it. So we're really excited that we can offer it without cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that feels like one of the things that has been challenging in the past.
Well, thank you for offering the service in a way that sounds like really connects with students and tries to build wellness.
Yeah, we're excited.
Absolutely necessary to be helpful in that way.
Thank you.
Other board questions? Any questions from admin or the public? All right, and so we'll hear more about this next month.
Correct.
Excellent.
All right, did you want me to come back next month?
If you would like to, that'd be great. July 14th. is the.
I'm here. Okay.
Me as well. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Really appreciate it. Moving on to our ALC update, Mr. Caney or Mr. Caney and Mr. Conan?
Okay, I think this should be my shortest presentation ever to you guys. All right, I don't know, I might be wrong, we'll see. Changes to ALC, it's just 2 slides, all right? One of the slides is about curriculum. In other words, how are we presenting the information that we're giving to the kids? How are we determining what's gonna be taught and what's not gonna be taught? Previously, all right, a lot of it was packet work, all right? And that was just packets of papers and assignments and things like that that was handed to the kids, all right? And the kids would do the work, the teacher would grade it, the teacher would provide feedback and go that route. One of the things that became a challenge was what was the proficiency and was it aligned to standards, all of those questions that get asked. With Edmentum, all right, which is it's an LMS, a learning management system. It has all of the courses that we need to be able to offer for a high school diploma. They've all been matched up to our standards and benchmarks, right, for the state of Montana. So we feel comfortable that if they're able to do that work, then we know that they're working on a proficiency level, okay? Also, with the change of teacher, and it's wonderful that we have Ms. Meyer here, so we're super excited about that. But teachers at the ALC, they're not all licensed the same. So for example, last year, with Aisha being licensed as a English teacher, you'd feel very comfortable that she would have the knowledge and the skills to be able to teach English at the high school level. But when you change licensure, I believe, for social studies, right? Now, very comfortable, to be able to provide social studies content, all right, but maybe not science. I'm guessing, probably great at science, all right? Maybe not science, maybe not math, okay? So you want to be able to rely on a tried and true curriculum so that you know that the level and the rigor is there, okay? So what stays the same, so I know there's some questions, what stays the same is the kids are still learning in a non-traditional way in the fact that they're doing one class at a time, all right? I think that's the most important narrative when you're talking about what's different about the ALC versus what's different about kids that are on the main campus. They get to work on one class at a time, and they get to finish that, and then they get to go to the next one. Slide when I talk about the periods, that doesn't mean they're doing 3 periods. They're doing 1 period, but it might take one kid 2 weeks to finish it. It might take another kid 4 weeks to finish it. They get to work on their own, and they can do one at a time. The difference is the mode by which we're presenting the information to them. So does that clear that first piece up? The next one is the change to the bell schedule. All right, in previous, students just started first thing in the morning, and they went till like right around 11 o'clock, and that was the morning session, and then they came back and we had an afternoon session that went from like 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So there was a lunchtime in there. That was great on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It was not so great on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of our bell schedule on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the block. So what it essentially did is it eliminated a student from being able to take a class at the ALC, but then being able to take the full class on the main campus. We have a lot of kids who would like to come take a weights class or want to go take a shop class or take a culinary arts class, all right? And so it made it really hard to do that, especially if you think about a morning session, that kid would miss the entire Wednesday, but that might have been the lab day for that culinary arts class. I mean, that's when you cook. You cook on those lab days, so you would miss all of those types of lessons. So by linking them up like this, it does make some slight changes to the kid's schedule, all right? But it does now, it allows the students to be able to take like second, third, fourth period, or I think what we decide, first, second, third period, all right, at the ALC. But if they chose to come back and take an afternoon class, say 6th period on the main campus, they could go to the entirety of that 6th period and not have to miss lessons. That makes sense, okay? And so that was the big reason why we wanted to do that. The trade-off, all right, on that Tuesday, kids would go to school till 2 o'clock. On Wednesday, kids would go to school till 2 o'clock, all right? They would still have 1 day off like they did in the past. The change that the kids talked about, so originally when I planned it, I wanted to have first period off and have the kids go second, third, and fourth. But the ALC kids talked to us and they wanted to not go to fourth period because it would have them in school till 3:30. And a lot of them really needed to be able to get to jobs earlier at that. So by compromising a little bit and making that prep fourth, now worst case scenario for a kid is the earliest they're in school till 2 instead of 3:30. So we made that compromise, and I think it's a fair compromise. It still works with our school schedule. We can still offer a lot more offerings to our students. So I'm gonna pause and questions. What questions do you guys have for me on these changes?
I don't really have a question, but I think it's awesome that you talked to the kids and got feedback from them and adapted.
I didn't willingly talk to the kids. I'm kidding. The kids talked to me. That's a nice way of saying it.
Okay, you're not as cool as
I listened. It was nice of me to listen.
I'm trying to make it really cool.
No, but it makes sense. And part of why you do an ALC is so that your kids can work. All right. The other line of thinking of doing it first, just to verify, was a lot of times kids who are at the ALC or they work, those kids work late. So getting up early is hard as well. So there would have been a benefit to not going first period. But I like what they proposed and I think it's easy to work with. Yes, Trevor.
Straight up 2 or 2:10 with the new schedule change?
Well, whatever, if we change you're putting me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
Well, a couple more of these, all right? If we change the time at the high school, we'll change the time, we'll make it match. How's that, is that fair?
Yeah, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
The other piece I like about this is what we know about our students is the more connections they have to the high school setting, the better they're gonna do academically. And by aligning the schedules differently from what they had last year to the main campus, it's gonna allow kids to have a lot more opportunities to be able to attend some of those other courses that might really drive them here or be an interest area.
Ms. Motley?
Do they do the testing that like the IXL and the whatever the high school does? I know what we do, but I don't know. Do they still?
They do, they have to do their beginning end of your IXL. It's a challenge, all right, especially working on different classes at the same time. We're still gonna do it because we need to see, we need to measure it, right? But just understanding that there's going to be challenges. Let's say a kid isn't taking a math class at all during that first window, right? That's gotta be a piece of that data, is to recognize that maybe these 8 kids who showed no improvement, well, they didn't do math during that window. So you still have to have data, you just have to look deeper into the data at the ALC when you see that data come back.
What was the big impetus for change? Like, were you just seeing pieces that could use refinement or?
Well, just improvement,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that came with having an ALC committee, so if you guys are new to the board, students apply, all right? And then we have a committee of teachers that looks at it, they help rank which students will need, or the highest need students to go there, all right? And usually that goes by what grade are they, how credit deficient are they coming to school, right? I mean, if you've got a kid who's coming to school all the time, they're gonna outrank a kid who doesn't come to school, because those seats are kind of coveted. Long way of saying, as you're having that committee, you're also discussing, well, what are the challenges and what's working and what's not working? And we had several CTE or special ed teachers who were on that committee, and one of the things that they picked up was, if you put them in that ALC as it was, sometimes they missed out on even being able to attend a study skills class, which they need if they're gonna be in special education. Or they missed out, like there's kids who would be great at the ALC, but also it would really benefit them to weld, right? And just missing some of those sequences was just, if we had the chance to make the change, we took the chance to make the change. The other piece of that was perceived inequity of not having class on a Wednesday. This teacher seemed like they were getting way more time off than the other teachers, right? And so there was this unsaid and maybe sometimes said animosity of how come there's so much prep time over here versus prep time here. By changing this up now, it's apples to apples. It's equal. It's a fourth period prep at ALC is the same as fourth period prep at the main campus. So we're able to solve a couple of problems in one simple tweak.
Thank you for the thought.
The other piece too, I'd like to add to that, nice job, Zeke, is not that our packet work wasn't standards-based before, but this is a lot more aligned to standards. One of the questions we had was, can we still do, if a student struggles with just the online environment, can we still be flexible enough to support students face-to-face or with a packet work that's aligned to the curriculum? And so we wanted to keep that flexibility still in the program that we had in the past. Because that way, we know there are some students out there that do not do well online if that's all they have. But having support from someone and working online, you can pull students while they're working and help support them face-to-face. And so we know from not only COVID, but over many years, that face-to-face instruction is the most strong instruction that we have. And so that's the piece that I think really drives the ALC is the relationship between the teacher and the students. And we want to keep emphasizing that. And I really feel like this team did an excellent job of hiring Ms. Meyer to continue that going forward. So from everything that people told me, especially her daughter, that she's creating relationships and she's a Bobcat and it should go well.
Are there any further questions?
So thanks, Steve, for that, because I had a lot of questions with just the information that we had in the packet, and you pretty much answered between you and Mr. Conan all of the questions that I had. One of the things, and this may or may not have already existed with the ALC, as you're talking, I know that at one point when we were talking about the ALC, when I was on that side of the table, not this side of the table, was capturing those students that wanted to leave and go get a high set rather than finish out their educational career. So do we have flexibility in the ALC as far as numbers, that if we had a student that in the middle of the year, I'm just leaving, that we could transfer them to the ALC, or is that an option, or are we keeping it, or is it staying so full? Because I know that we had waiting lists at one point.
So, no, you have flexibility. I mean,
Okay.
ALC is it's all flexibility, right? The things that happen is you start with a full boat as much as you can. It's easy to go from traditional into alternative. It's hard to go from alternative back to traditional, right? That makes it tough, right? Especially the model we use is kind of, once you get in there, we're gonna keep you in there, because if they're just taking for 6 weeks a math class and English class, you can't throw them back to 7 periods because they just missed all that much time. But what also happens is your seniors, right? Like, one of the things is, if a kid has been in there long enough and they've been successful, they can start to pick up credits quick, all right? And so you will have seniors who will finish out a little bit earlier. So you may have a senior who only has to take your English and your social studies, those required 2 classes their senior year. So you may have some seniors who are finishing up in November or December. That starts to create openings for those kids who we we miss kids sometimes, or we identify kids who may need to be over there for, anxiety or some other reason. And so usually spots start to open up so we can put someone in there. Your HiSET question is, yes, you have the flexibility to do it, as long as the kids are in the right, like, state credit-wise, to be able to qualify to take that HiSET route. Dr. Ryan did go through the training and did get qualified to be able to do that. As we were trying to do that as part of our charter application, the HiSET. So we did do the groundwork to set it up. We just didn't get the charter.
Thank
you.
Any further questions for Mr. Kaney? From the community? Anything further, Mr. Kaney?
I think that's enough.
Thank you so much for working so hard to refine our systems, and Michelle, we're so glad that you're here to be a part of it. And take it here. Thank you. We'll move on and go forward with the superintendent report then, please, Mr. Freeman.
Definitely, I'd like to first start off with Glenda giving us a little bit of some financial information, finally something a little bit positive.
Yeah, some positive. So some of you may or may not know, but our elementary bond of $8,880,000 is due on Monday, the 15th. So that payment is coming up due. Today, I met with both Farmer State Bank and First Security Bank and made the wire transfers, so they will go through tomorrow, and the county will make that payment for us on Friday. So as of today, I moved $1,140,547.34, which leaves us with a balance in our fund of $150. We will have a remaining $269,547.34 remaining after we make that bond payment. So I know, huge, yeah. I thanked Bill today because he obviously is the one that started this. I was like, thank you for starting this. I just get to finish it. The sinking fund was a very daunting task when I started with not a lot of understanding. I have learned a lot through it this year. I know in one of our committee meetings, we had talked about making a public acknowledgement to the two banks that have really helped us get to where we needed to be with this, and also letting the public know that this bond is being paid off and done, and so that's really encouraging. The $269,000 does need to sit in that account with the county for a year before we can reappropriate it and do what we're going to, just because of back taxes and things like that when people aren't paying. So we will then in a year be able to have a discussion on what we are going to do with that remaining money. So.
And is there any question about if the district gets to keep any of that money, or if it will go back to people for back taxes? Or
so that is something that we will need to discuss coming up, and starting, I would say next spring, we will need to start discussing what we want to do with
how that applies to. Yep.
Yeah. So Friday, Dan with the county is going to make this payment for us, so it will be done.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, I'll continue on. I know we have some new board members that have been seated over the last month or so, but in my board report, I don't want to get into it too detailed because you can read it, but I do want to show you the sections just so you have them. The first section, I deal with the calendar that I have coming up. Usually we'll list the upcoming committee meetings as well as the meetings that I attend all throughout the upcoming month up until the next board meeting. Next part is something that I work with Nicole Sylvester on, is the HR. From past board members, and maybe several that are on here too, asked for, in the HR, whenever there's an opening, they wanted to know how many applicants we have and how many were interviewed for that. So we are constantly updating this every single month with the latest data. Next part, we had some board members ask for new hire for introductions. This is just for classified staff. Certified happens a lot, but certified, some of the board members wanted to have some information about the new people that we are hiring, because sometimes you only get the motion to hire and you don't know anything about them. And so in the board report, any new certified will be listed, and we'll put their years of experience, what they've done before, what positions, what education they have, and how many applicants there were for that position, and how many were interviewed for it. So we've been having pretty high numbers of people applying, especially for our certified positions this year, which has been great. So you'll find that we have 2 teachers there. There'll be obviously more new staff certified coming in the July board meeting also. Then each month, something new we just started last month was the attendance. And so this is kind of a quick attendance look, trying to put the current attendance down, what it was last month, and then what it was a year ago at the same time, as well as our A and B numbers, and then a little historical data also. So that gives you kind of a perspective on where we're at with our attendance. We add also the online students. They are part of the total too. So they're at the bottom there. You can kind of see that information didn't start up until last year. Then the rest of the board report that I have goes with what's been updated from each of the committees over the last month. And so I give you a quick synopsis of what that committee did. Another place to find this information is also on the school board dashboard. When you go in there, we have the ongoing agenda item for each committee, and you can look back at everything that has been talked about. I try to do the notes at the same time, so if there are things in there that you still have questions about, don't be afraid to ask me. But that's one place where you're not having to look at a whole bunch of agendas for the facilities. There's one agenda, and it's ongoing. And it gets populated at the top, and so the newest one is at the top, so you can read what was just done. And then obviously in my board report, I go through and list the changes or the work that the committee has done each time. So that goes through each of the committees. This board report goes into a little more detail about the progress towards our goals. And so wanted to make sure to get that information in front of you, because I feel like this is something we'll be doing together as a board. And if there's any admin on campus, I would invite them too, but we'll see when we have that meeting. Our school improvement team was part of this process this year. If you remember 2 years back, the board created objectives for the school to work on. Then last year, we worked as a team between the administration team and the board to create the objectives that go with our strategic plan. And then this year, added one more element to it, was adding in the school improvement team, which included teachers from each of the schools to dig in the data, create assumptions, and then create goals that go with those assumptions. And so you'll see that I have the progress towards those goals in each of the sections. I'm sure there's lots of questions that we'll dive into in our upcoming board retreat that we need to have, hopefully, now that Chris is seated and we have all of our board members now, we can move forward with getting that planned. And the date we're looking at is the 29th, I think, that fits because we're also going to include Calva having Bia here also to do some board training for half a day, as well as working on the objectives that go back to our goals for the upcoming year. Strategic plans usually last 5 years, and then you come back to that strategic plan. 2027 will be 5 years of this strategic plan. So next year will be a big year for relooking at the whole strategic plan and looking at what changes we want to make as a school district. This year, we're just looking at the objectives that go back to the 5 we have. And so in my board report, I list the progress and where I feel like where we got as a school district towards that goal, as well as a recommendation from that. And so that lists each of the goals. Again, that's something I feel like we can really dive deeper into in a board retreat. But that section's in there. And then the last thing we started including a couple months ago is the financial update, which is also found on that school board dashboard. Each month, we list the, how we are doing as compared to the previous 4 years within our budget. I include in the board report both the general fund for the elementary and high school, as well as the transportation fund for the elementary and high school. And I can show you how to read that a little bit more if you have questions, but this to me is pretty important because it's like keeping track of your checkbook. Like you want to know where you're at in your checkbook compared to the whole year. And looking at years back, you can kind of, you look back a couple of years and remember, oh yeah, that was a tough year. That's why we were at where we are. And so that is one way that you get a financial check every single month. And then the other piece of it on the school board dashboard is the actual general fund all the way down to the line items for you that are on there that for each month. So you can kind of see how the money, the line items are coming out at the end of each month. Again, when you look at it, it's for the previous month. So you're looking at it in June, you're looking at the fiscal information for the month of May. And so those are the pieces that are in the board report. Any questions on that piece of it?
None from the board, from the public?
Okay. Next one is the charter school. Each month we'll be doing something similar as the regular board report that I do. I will be getting some help probably starting in August, just planting seed. Ms. Hannah Hauser will help me with this board report coming up with listing things, and we're going to try to make it in a similar format. So when you look at my board report, you can look at the charter school board report and kind of go through looking at the meetings and tasks that are coming up, as well as any hiring that we must do. This time, we actually have a short presentation that we've been working on. I have let you know that the charter school curriculum is needing to be purchased before the charter school starts in August. And so when we're looking at these AP courses, very much AP curriculum to look at. There's only a certain amount of companies that create curriculum that goes with College Board curriculum. And so we have had for the last almost 14 days curriculum in the district office for people in the public to come look. We push that out through our social media for people to come look at our curriculum that we had. We had a curriculum team that kind of did some of the same processes, just expedited quicker because of the need to bring this to the board right now. Our team has chosen 2 hefty books, and we have a short presentation that we're going to do tonight. I can have Hannah help me out a little bit with it, but the 2 books that we actually chose are from the same company. And so if you haven't lifted weights today, this is your chance. These are the 2 AP curriculums. We're going to look at AP Physics and AP Bio. I also know another guy in here in this room that has taught some of this stuff that might be able to help us too. Mr. Kane, if I make a mistake, can you help correct me too?
And one thing with the AP Bio book, I looked through that. We did, because there was 2 Pearson ones. There was one that was about half the size of that one. It is for students that are not biology majors. It's like very glazed over, not glazed over, but it's like the very top. Whereas the larger AP biology book that we settled on goes into more detail and is for biology majors. Whereas students that are in a health science academy they are going to need the deeper level biology. I have a biology major, so looking at that one, it has a lot more. What's also really nice about that AP biology is it does have the surface level science and then goes into the deeper level, so we can actually use it for the sophomore biology and the AP biology. Because a lot of that book has stuff that is covered in a sophomore biology that the state requires, like NGSS standards. So it can be used in both classes. So they'll be able to see like more of the like surface level science in their sophomore biology, and if they take AP biology, then they'll go deeper into those concepts. So that's kind of nice.
Again, my job is to put people smarter around me than myself, and so I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job of that. There's lots of people smarter than me. Thanks, Hannah. I think one of the big pieces of this curriculum is some of these books are golden standards that have been around for a long time. Like one of these is like the 13th edition of that book. And so it is the gold standard for AP. And so I know it says 12th up there, but I think it's actually the 13th that it just came out and we're purchasing. And so this quick presentation, Beth had helped put it together. Beth is not here, but that's the piece too that I wanted you to know that when we started this whole curriculum adoption process, we had obviously a curriculum director that is helping to work with teachers and coming up with a process. And so I'm a huge process and systems person because when people change, you can fall back on your systems, right? And so we have a system for curriculum, and Beth has really done a great job of helping, and as well as our counselors and Zeke with this of pulling these resources together in a quick mode to look at them. And our teachers have looked at it, and our team, and chose these two curriculums. So big concepts are that they really work on how to engage our students and then how they can interact with the information. And then after they interact with the information, how do they connect this and transfer that deep learning into other areas. And so one of the big pieces all the time from school board members and myself is like, so we got textbooks, right? But there's also an online component that goes with it too. And so always the question is, and I feel like this has been controversial over the last decade even more, is like, how much are we gonna get hooked into a subscription-based service, right? And so that's the piece that we need to continue to keep talking about. What we purchased is for 6 years with the book and with the online piece. And that's difficult because AP is pushing this, right? And so there is going to be components of this. If we want to have AP classes going forward, we're going to have to look at that. There are going to be some subscriptions that we have to purchase for some of our curriculum. This is what everyone else is doing. Unfortunately, that piece comes with the subscription at the end of 6 years that we're going to have to decide, is this the best resource for what we're teaching? And so, again, there is, I don't know, we can talk about that component. Can you speak to any online component piece of it?
And I think one thing to think about with the subscriptions, I think a lot of times the subscriptions in our mind get a negative connotation because a lot of times they are money driven, right? I want you to keep paying for the subscription. I think in education, especially for something like AP, I don't think, this is a personal view, I don't think it's as much about I want to get as much money as possible. Education changes. Science changes, what we discover changes, information changes. So that 6 year resubscribe is less about getting more money and more about we need to make sure our curriculum is up to date. Because for AP, we want these students getting college level coursework, because if they want to get into nursing schools, med schools, any higher level mastery graduate program, they need to know the newest information. And I think a lot of those subscriptions, especially in science education, are to make sure that the information is staying up to date with the science that is happening in the real world. So just thoughts there.
Yeah. What do you mean Yugoslavia is no longer a country, right? That's the whole concept of this. It's like we got to keep making sure we have the latest information out there for our kids. And so they use this cycle. We've talked about this cycle a little bit. You might remember this if you're on the board when we talked in our social studies adoption, right? Because we dove deep into, one of our board members dove deep into the whole inquiry-based learning piece. And I am a huge advocate of it. Obviously, it's done well and correctly. We have step one is this visual entry of learning about the concept or whatever that they have in front of them, and gets them hopefully engaged to then break it down and start building skills to understand it. and then obviously being able to use those skills to apply it into other situations. And so this inquiry-based cycle obviously has a set of information that they're going to be tested on that has to be taught during the course. That's the whole point of the AP credit, is the fact that the teacher goes off course with this, it's going to affect their students' scores, right? And so that's why this stuff is dictated to us a little bit on the learning intentions for them getting ready to take the AP test. So that's kind of the same model we saw a little bit, if you remember, back to social studies, but this is obviously for science. And so they use a lot of not only the books, but they have slideshow stuff too. And so that one of the powerful things of this program that I saw was the fact that students have so many different avenues to be able to learn some of the concepts other than just the book. But there's the visual piece to it also in the online portion of it. But it comes with all these structured Canvas, and I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that a little bit, but.
One thing that I think anyone that has been to college understands that sometimes you're the teacher just as much as the professor is for yourself. And I think a lot of these online Canvas and online simulations can be a good tool for teachers to start scaffolding student learning to the student. Not that the teacher is not teaching. Let's say the teacher has a lesson in class, they do the lesson, and they're like, okay, now I need you to practice this on your own. A lot of students, to be more engaging other than just a packet, these online tools like this Canvas software can allow them to start taking responsibility and ownership of some of their own learning in a way that's more engaging, something that they're going to engage with other than just a homework packet, which could be really helpful in a college scenario.
Thanks, Hannah. Which kind of goes with what she was talked about a little bit of students understanding the big picture. And then again, really diving deeper into the skill development of understanding the concept. And then what you just talked about, a lot of that digital reinforcement piece, and then being able to have a visual demonstration of it. And so they call this the problem-solving architecture or a strategic approach. And
One thing, there was a doctor at a symposium 2 years ago in Arizona who was a neuroscientist. And he talked about you learn things in threes. You see it, you hear it, like the more you see something 3 times, you learn it. They see it in class, they see it online, practicing at home, and then they see it again on a quiz or a test, and by the 3rd time, you know it. That's kind of the goal.
I totally know how to do my own dishwasher at home because my wife has told me this is the way it needs to be done. So that's for me. Again, I put people around me that are a lot smarter than me. And that's the whole goal of all this, right? So this is kind of looking at how the College Board AP aligns the 4 different parts that they go through to get students ready to be able to take the test. And so obviously this goes for both physics and biology, kind of gives a little bit more, and I'll send this out to you guys to take a deeper dive into this, into the different components or core features of each of the textbooks that are there, as well as the all the curriculum and learning intentions that they have. Again, we're looking at grand total of $13,095. We're actually going with the 13th edition, it looks like, for what we're doing. And that pays for both the physics and the biology. I'll be honest, that was the first I heard that it covers sophomore class too, though. Like it covers more than just.
Absolutely. Looking at the textbook, and like I teach sophomore biology right now. I just taught my last class today in Missoula. Everything in that book is what we cover within GSS and further. So like it would work for both. Absolutely, no problem.
And we've really dove into like reading standards, and we're starting math standards, but I don't know if our group as a whole, as a district, has really dove into the new science standards, which are new. They're probably 3 or 4 years. With that, when we looked at building curriculum, our science teachers have, because they've been building their curriculum maps so far, but that's something, when you hear the word NGSS, which is the the national, tell me what the G stands for.
Next
Next
generation.
generation.
Next generation science standards, yes, thank you. That is a piece that you'll continue to keep hearing, that is in the programs. So again, this is a decision that you'll be making tonight. We hope to give you enough information to be lethal, so we'll make that decision later tonight, hopefully. Again, our goal is to purchase them and put them before our kids before August. And so, again, the AP classes I think are a little bit different than when we looked at English language arts last year. We had so many different philosophies. We really looked at the science of reading to make sure that was part of our process, but it was a lot longer process. It was probably 6 to 8 months process to choose that curriculum. Here, I feel like there wasn't very many options, and we've done a deep dive into the resources that we have, and we feel like with our team, these are the best resources that we can put in front of our kids for them to be successful on the AP test coming up. So with that, is there any questions about, yes?
Go back to the previous screen. Just using Campbell Biology right there, that edition, for $6,250, that would equate to, if I'm not mistaken, you're ordering 25 books,
Right?
$250 a book.
Plus all the online resources, all the,
That's what I was gonna ask, for the benefit of this machine right here, can you explain the difference between that and the same edition, same book, if someone can look up, and just Google that thing and see it for $65 or $100 or something like that? What's the difference there?
I guess I don't know the question.
And you can buy that
Asking
book
whether I
online.
can go on and find cheaper books?
Well, yeah, I mean, what else do you get for your $250 as opposed to buying the book online for $100 or less? $65.
The book we're looking at is from Campbell, so.
I'm sorry?
The book we're looking at for biology is from Campbell. I think I understand your question, I'm gonna try. It's from Campbell Biology. They're a historically reputable publisher of AP biology books. Like there was another book we looked at, and I think it was less expensive from a different company, but it does not have the level of material that we would want our students to have to be successful and competitive with students at the college level for biology.
Again, I'm not making it clear enough. Go ahead, please.
I think I know where you're asking there. So go from the AP physics side, by being able to have the online access. AP is tied to College Board, all right? And College Board is going to be putting out sample questions and things like that as they change. And they change those tests every 3 to 4 years. Because these are basically lined up with AP and they have agreements with AP itself, which is a trademark. When College Board stuff shifts, that allows these textbooks and some of the online resources to be able to shift and connect it. So because you're connected, you now have access to up and coming problem sets and things like that. Okay, someone could maybe go get an old edition of one of these books for less, right? College kids sell them all the time, but they're not gonna have that, connection. And AP teachers are gonna be using the College Board site just as much as they're gonna be using that textbook site so that they can prepare students for those tests that are gonna be at the same reading level, the same style of question as the AP, because that's the end game. The end game is for your kids to be able to pass that AP exam. So it's an advantage that takes time off of the teacher's plate by having to go to 2 places at once. They have to go grab problems to prepare kids. Does that help?
Well, it's sort of. I just want to make sure we're on the same sheet here, same page. If you Google that book, 12th edition of Campbell Biology, you can find that online for about $65 or roughly sometimes up to $115, somewhere in there, for various booksellers. So if you can do that, what are you getting for the extra $150, $200 that we're paying for these books?
Right, so I guess I go back to the resources that come with it. I think,
That's
I,
one.
I think of being a college kid and deciding whether I'm gonna take someone else's book that's already been highlighted and used and purchasing that rather than purchasing something brand new. That's like the rest of it, I think, is the piece that it also goes, that aligns with it, with the electronic resources that update and change and align to the AP coursework that you're not gonna get by just going online and buying the book for $115, because they're obviously not gonna sell you just the electronic resources. They want you to buy the whole package.
That's what I want to put online on this recording device here. Just from, we already talked about people not supporting schools because of the expensive stuff. If someone found out a month from now, yep, we paid $250 for these books each, without talking to anybody, they can pull this up at least and hear the explanation of why this costs $250, as opposed to what they can pull up on their phone and say, well, hell, they could have bought it for $85 or $100. So they're wasting our money.
I understand that. And that's the point of how we need to go back and continue to keep getting our community involved.
I agree.
Allowing them to come look at curriculum, to come into the school office, and like having those opportunities to connect. And I know, talking with Beth, we will continue to add, similar to you being on the ELA committee, we want to continue having our public be part of the process of whenever we adopt new curriculum, right? Because I think getting their voice, someone from the public for that, we had several different parents in to help give opinions on the ELA program that we had, as well as you and your wife came, and that was powerful to us, because we want to hear that public piece of it. So again, we didn't have too many people coming in to look at that curriculum that we put out there. Again, it's only for 14 days, but again, we're on a tight timeline. I guess in order for us to move forward by August, I think this is the best process that we could come up with to get ready to go, as well as understanding that it does come with other resources that our teachers need to besides the book.
And just to speak to that one more time, having a question bank that is specifically AP questions through this is invaluable to students. AP questions are very tricky, and they're purposely misleading in high level because they're multiple choice and they're trying to make sure they understand the question. So instead of, A, B, C, D, E, it can be all the way to G, and, there's the right answer versus one that sounds right. So I know, like at Big Sky, we don't use AP, we use IB, but it's very similar. Having a test bank to start training students on how to approach those questions is invaluable and is worth that extra. Whereas not, just buying the book, you're gonna get that question bank that you can essentially allow students to start practicing. A lot of our juniors come in and they score very lowly. So our current IB teacher, all their quizzes and tests are from a test bank that is very similar to this AP one. The juniors typically score in the C range, and then by their senior year, right before they take the exam, they're typically scoring in that A to B range, which is much better, and nothing changed. They just got better at answering those questions, because they're purposely, I don't want to say purposely tricky, but they're difficult. They're purposely wordy, and there's the best answer versus another answer, so having access to that question bank is invaluable. And that would come with those more expensive online resources.
Well, and I think too, I'm guessing, but you're getting curriculum, teacher versions, and curriculum resources too, which if you go online and onesie twosie buy a book, you're not getting that full package that you need to do it in a school.
Like when I'm ordering lab supplies, having access to that is very helpful, because they say, to do this lab, these are the things we recommend, and that's helpful to find.
Hannah, are you gonna be teaching the these books and classes, or?
No, so as the director of the charter school, I will be helping facilitate curriculum building and things like that. So for example, next week, the science teachers are coming in and I'm gonna hold a PIR day for them. I'm just gonna open up space to collaborate. So looking at this book, I'm gonna bring resources from NCPS that I've been using and we'll look at the curriculum, or not the curriculum, but the lessons they already have and start helping them build like their learning intentions and their learning targets for next year and hopefully helping them build some lessons. The AP Biology and AP Physics are not directly in the charter school, but a strong science program supports a health science program. Our charter school is based around CTE, health science courses, so more focused on specifically skills that they would need in a health science job, not necessarily hard science skills. But those students, like whenever we have our first meeting of the year with those freshmen, I would highly recommend, those juniors and sophomores should be taking AP Biology and Physics. Because before you go into a health program, you have to get an undergrad. So if I wanted to go to, whenever I was in my biology program, I was in class with nursing majors. Because you have to get an undergrad program before you ever apply for a nursing program or med school. So if students truly want to do well in the Health Science Academy, we need these supplementary hard science classes to support them to be successful. You can't be successful in A&P if you don't understand basic science philosophies and understandings.
So these AP classes will be offered to the full student body, not just kids in the charter school?
Yes, ma'am. Kids in the charter school will be highly encouraged to take these courses because they will be invaluable to them. Because any pre-health profession program requires you to take either an undergrad in biology, chemistry, or something like that. Physics and bio are 100% always a part of those. So this will do nothing but help them. The AP Bio and AP Physics will be open to any student in the high school. The Charter Academy classes are separate, but they would just be highly encouraged to take these. Normally, like at Big Sky, we have a Health Science Academy. I would say the higher level biology is probably 70% HSA kids, and that doesn't necessarily have to be how it is here, but I'm assuming it will be similar to that.
Would the charter school kids get priority to be in the AP class then?
We haven't broached that yet. I don't think we'll need to do that. If it comes down to the point where charter school students are having trouble doing the upper level sciences, we can definitely talk about that. What I think it'll come down to is me being very intentional with the counselors when we're building the master schedule to make sure that like the required A&P, the required junior level health science HSA course doesn't overlap with like an IB Bio. Or if it does, there's another section of IB Bio available. So I think when we build a master schedule, we need to be very intentional about making sure that they don't overlap so that they can take those. And this is a 1-year course, so they can take it their junior and senior year. So maybe if they don't have this room in their schedule junior year, they can take it senior year or vice versa or anything like that.
So we currently have physics and an honors physics, correct, that's offered. Would we continue to do an honors physics?
No, all we have right now is the honors physics.
Okay.
That one class, that was a class that Pam was in.
Yeah.
And so that'll basically shift over to be AP.
It would be done AP physics, so it's taking the place of.
Correct. I wish we had the numbers that you needed both, but right now you don't.
Gotcha.
Any other board comment, questions?
Yeah, I do.
All right, go ahead, Tony.
So, a couple things. John, one is I thought that after we did the last curriculum, number one, I asked specifically a couple of times to be involved in further curriculum. And I was also told that the next curriculum you were going to be working on was math curriculum. And so I had no idea this was coming out.
Have you read the packets the last 3 months?
No, John, because I have no digital access to anything because my basically digital device sits in your school unrepaired. So I don't have any access to it. And so, but my phone doesn't work. And neither email works, and my text messaging works. And so we go down this road, and now we're mixing up money from charter school with the rest of the school, which I thought was absolutely something we weren't supposed to be doing.
That's not correct.
Well, I don't know, we were just sitting here talking about, charter school and regular school, and our curriculum director is working on, I guess, some portion of this money for the charter school, some portion of this curriculum for charter school. So how's that, I don't know how that sorts out. And so it just is a very frustrating situation. We just lost our bond, we didn't get our bond passed, we have no money, and so all of a sudden we're under spending money that we don't, I don't know, I have no idea. And the public is like.
This is charter school money.
Let's support it.
This is charter school money. We've had, when you looked at the application packet, when we presented to the Board of Public Ed, you had that packet that had in there what we were purchasing. We talked about we had enough money in a line item to be able to purchase curriculum that goes with this.
So if it goes with the charter school, that's a completely different deal. If it's not for the charter school, then it's a different, and the other thing that happened, the line items that we submitted to the Board of Public Ed, basically came back with many conditions that we just accepted. We didn't re-vote when we got the new conditions on the charter school situation at all. We accepted it, Ben was the chairman, that's fine, he did it. That's water under the bridge. I just thought that part of the new conditions was that we had to keep everything completely separate from the district school. So, and I could be wrong, maybe I'm,
Yeah, I would love for you to come in and I will meet with you and we can go through that.
Well, I would like to do that. And then the other thing, Skip is absolutely right. As soon as people find out that, there's two pieces of this curriculum and because it looks like they're front loading the cost of the book. And for whatever reason, I don't know. And it's just it looks like it's being hustled through, and it's a bad look, and it doesn't make me feel very good. But I will come in, and I'll refrain from further comment on it tonight. Thank you.
Can I follow up on that here? Just so that I've got something, I like to keep things very simple if I can. So my understanding is if somebody comes in, they find out that we're paying $250 a book or a piece for these books, and they question me as a trustee, why are we spending that kind of money? I can tell them, actually the cost of the book is probably about $150 or less. But we're paying for 6 years worth of digital support. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for clarifying.
And teacher support.
Access to the tests, questions.
Motley?
It's more than just a textbook. I mean, there's teacher's editions. I mean, I ended up with 6 teacher's editions for the new ELA curriculum. I ended up with 10 teacher's manuals for the knowledge portion. That's included in this stuff, that you don't necessarily see how many different books that go with. There were trade books that went with the CKLM program. That, yeah, probably a book alone would be minimal, but it's everything else that the teacher needs to teach the curriculum. So you can't just base it on, I can go on Amazon and buy it for $138 or $85, because there's more to it than just the student textbook. And I think that's the part that you have to be aware of. It's not just the student textbook. There's more. So.
Hannah, I am so excited that you're here, and I'm excited about the addition of you and the charter school and what that's going to do to elevate our student achievement and what that's going to do to elevate our science program, both through the charter school and peripheral to it. So I feel very good about the curriculum. I feel good about it being out of charter school funds. Those were 2 of the questions I was going to ask. And I never talk about my kids in these board meetings, or very rarely, because I don't want to be in trouble all the time. But I just want to say that with the AP classes, like so much of it is knowing the content and knowing that information. But when you're describing how invaluable it is to be able to practice taking those tests and how specific it is from class to class, or at least, like discipline to discipline, it's so different. Like knowing how to do that in social studies is so different than knowing how to do that in science and in math. So I know that for him, being able to train on how to do that higher level test taking is what made him successful. He could have rattled off social studies stuff all day long, but he wouldn't have known how to take that test. And so that part was everything to him. That's what made him successful. That's what got him across the finish line. So thank you for bringing that part up too, and looking at this curriculum piece so hard and comprehensively. Appreciate it.
Stephanie, so I think one of the things that we can do as board members, when we're talking to the public and they're questioning this amount that we're paying when it looks off kilt to what they're seeing online, is to encourage them to get involved.
Absolutely.
The district I've been in the district office several times where these books have been sitting there the last several weeks. They need to come and they need to talk and they need to be proactive in what is happening here at the school. And if they go to the district and see those books and they ask those questions, they're gonna get the answers that will be the answers that are being given here. And so I think as board members, what we need to do is to encourage the public to be actively participating in volunteering to be on a curriculum team, like the Gibbons were and how valuable that was for us, so.
Absolutely well said.
Not to mention advanced placement classes, this is saving these kids money when they go to college. So this is a huge cost savings if they're able to take that here. My kids are gonna be saving money. So that's also another piece of the pie to look at, so.
Yes, one kind of final thought too is as if you are getting questions, so if you do that Google search, you'll notice that some of the low cost things are ebooks. So it's, we're not looking at an apples to apples when we're looking at an ebook, which is a hard textbook, and the other $150 one is somebody already mentioned, it's used books, fair condition. You don't get all the things that Vicki shared with us, so I think, we need to, we can be educated about what it is if we get that question, but at the end of the day, to Grant's point, get involved, come look at it. This is a program, a curriculum program, and not just a book, so.
Excellent. Well, so at this point, this is an informational item, and we're looking at this more for vote here in a little bit. So is there any further discussion at this time? Seeing nothing from the board, anything else from the public? Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Were there any other pieces with the charter school report, or that rounds it up?
I'll round it up.
All right. Thank you very much. Should we move on to our business items? Let's look at, do we have some out-of-district enrollment?
Me too.
No elementary, no high school?
Not at this time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So moving on to B, consideration of early admittance to kindergarten. Mr. Conan, can you lead us off in that?
Sure, we have a student that is applying to enroll. The birthday actually falls, if you look at our policy 3310 for entrance, placement, and transfer, that falls into the first criteria where we can consider as a board of trustees whether to allow this student to be enrolled into our school. September 10th is the date set by the state. If they have not turned 5 by that date, they are unable to come in. One of the things, though, that they allow is for school boards to have some exceptions to that rule. One is this first one where the student falls with their birthday between September 11th and September 30th. And this student's birthday is only a couple days after September 10th. And so with that, the parents have provided them to be able to come. We've done some readiness information with them, assessments, and met with the principal of the school, and the principal has a letter of what her recommendation is moving forward. And this student is actually online as well. The rest of her family is online and at home. The family recommended, they really liked the Harmony curriculum and would like for their student to continue being homeschooled, but liked the curriculum and wanted to be a part of it for their daughter. Anything else, Ms. Bauer, that I missed out of that?
No, that was, you summed it up pretty good.
I would just jump in real quick and, we're having a conversation about it. We will not use the student's name, just to ensure that we're being safe for both. Excellent. Is there any questions from the board for Ms. Bauer or Mr. Coleman?
So this student is doing homeschool, they're not actually gonna compete.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much for the thorough testing and the well-written letter to describe to us what's happening with the student and why you're recommending that they are eligible. So this is an action item this evening, so we could start out with a motion and move on to any discussion.
I will attempt to make a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion that we, accept the student that has been presented to us for early enrollment in kindergarten.
Motion made by Fran,
I'll second.
seconded by Billy. And this is an elementary district item, so we will vote individually. In the meanwhile, is there some board comment or questions?
Just a question, looking for some confirmation. Just my own personal experience with kids, our kids who were younger, and we put them into school at their earliest opportunity. They were sharp kids, but the oldest one probably could have benefited from not starting because of the emotional maturity. Has that been considered for this child as well?
It's always considered, talking to the parents, though this kiddo has been doing online schooling along with her siblings. They've just been paying for that curriculum out of pocket, and would love for the sibling to be on the same platform as their older ones and save some of that money. So yes, in general, it is always considered because we want to ensure the success of every student.
That was kind of the point behind my asking if the student was gonna be on campus or not as well. So, because they're not interacting with the other kids quite as much, so, because I get what you're saying for sure.
Further questions? Questions from the public? Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation for early admittance for this kindergarten students. Let's go down the line. Gail, how do you vote?
Aye.
Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
Excellent. Motion passes. Thank you very much. We will now move on to out-of-state travel for our math adoption team to the National Council of Mathematics Conference in Denver. Mr. Roman?
Sure. One of the experiences I've had being on a successful adoption team process was the ability to have a team that is trained, and they then become the trainer of trainers of that curriculum. So we started that with our ELA adoption. We brought in consultants to help support us in understanding, giving us a basic understanding of the science of reading, as well as some of the components we need to look for when we were purchasing curriculum for English language arts. So with this, moving forward, we're over a year out, the same type of process of looking at math adoption coming up. We would like to train a group of staff members that will be our go-to people to help us understand the math program that we choose, as well as helping to implement and teach the rest of our staff or new staff coming on board going forward, the new curriculum. And so what this actually does is a much larger picture of creating that, is what I was tasked with last year, is creating a curriculum adoption process. And so this process educates our staff, creates a cadre of experts with that curriculum that then teach going forward the rest of the staff, as well as any new staff that comes on each year. Again, it builds a system that whether we have new people coming in or out of our school, there's a system set up for continual professional development and training of our staff. And so that's what this does. We have a group of teachers going down. We have title money that's specific only to professional development that we can use for this. Obviously, there would be some of the costs associated with having subs, but we can shift around our subs for those days that they are going to be gone. Some strategies we can use to make sure that we have classes covered for that. We've had other, between the school improvement team and the tech team and safety team, we've had other committees that are out for the whole day and have several staff members gone at the same time. And so there is a number of staff that we look at. We don't have a set number, but once it's starting to reach district-wide and we start getting closer to 20 staff members being off campus, then it starts getting really hard to get everything covered. And so those are the things that we'll watch going forward. So with all that being said, I tried to answer some of the board's questions that people have asked since pushing this out. Is there any other questions that the board may have?
I don't have a question about it, but I just wanted to acknowledge the point you just made about that this will be funded by Title II funds, the travel and the, sorry, it's distracting here, my voice in reverb. That the actual expense of the trip and the conference will be covered, right? But putting in the context of we do this sort of thing and then with teams on site and still have the same substitute coverage system, I think just puts it in a little bit different context for me. But I'm excited about the idea of our team being able to go and get well trained in this and then be able to bring this back and have like champions of this in-house to be able to move things forward. It feels like a strong plan for our math curriculum. Sorry about that, are there other questions from the board?
John, is this training curriculum specific?
Did you hear that, John? Do you want to repeat that, Tony?
Is it curriculum specific? Has a curriculum already been chosen for this conference? Is it a specific curriculum or just a general conference?
It's the National Math Science Teachers Association Conference. So it's got best practices. They will have all the major publishers will be there with math books. A lot of them will have presentations there, as well as other best practices in curriculum instruction and assessment.
Thank you.
I do not believe that we have done a motion, so the floor is open for a motion, and then there is room for discussion after that.
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve out-of-state travel for the math adoption team to the National Council of Mathematics Conference in Denver, Colorado, October 25 to 31/2026.
Excellent, thank you.
Second.
A second from Fran. Thank you very much. Is there further board questions? Skip?
What's the amount of money that's being used for this?
19?
I think 19, when we wrote our title grants this year, we wrote this into one of our grants for this specific reason, so we do have grant money for it. It is around 19,000.
Other questions? Questions from the public? All right, excellent. We have a motion and a second, and this is district-wide, yes? Excellent. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving forward to the approval of liability insurance contract with Montana Schools Property and Liability Insurance Plan. Mr. Conan, do you want to
Sure.
walk us through that?
Yeah, this is something we use yearly from our insurance provider. This is protects us in several different areas for liability between of our school as well as vehicles. We have roughly 2,000 more than last year. That's all I have for that piece of it. It's something that obviously that we need to continue.
And the policy was available for review in your packets. And Mr. Conan just stated that the premium increased about $2,000 this year, which percentage-wise is very small for a policy of this size. And this is a very valid expense for a district. Liability insurance, this covers a little bit of everything, and it is very much in our best interest. Is there a motion before discussion?
I will make a motion to renew the liability insurance contract with the Montana School Property and Liability Insurance.
Fran, is there a second?
Second.
And Jen, we have a motion and a second. Are there any more questions or discussion around our liability insurance policy? No? Any questions or comments from the public? Excellent. Hearing none, we have and a second to renew our liability insurance contract with the Montana School Property and Liability Insurance Company. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you, board. We will move on to disposal of obsolete curriculum materials. And you will see, or items, so just curriculum materials. You will see a list in your packet. Any special notes on our obsolete materials?
There
Mr.
is also
Conan?
FCS and CTE stuff. FCS is old washer and dryer, and then there's some CTE items that are very old and be replaced or no longer work.
Excellent. The floor is open for a motion before questions and discussion.
I'll make a motion to dispose of the unsuitable curriculum material as presented.
Should we modify that since it's all curriculum? Or curricular encompassing since it's for CTE and
Technically,
FCL?
yeah.
Okay,
covers that.
never
you
mind.
want me to-
Forgive me.
Okay.
Let it lie. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Fran and Jen. All right, is there any further discussion or questions from the board?
The motion is just for the curriculum.
All those items are used in curriculum, I guess. Obviously, FCS has the washer and dryer in there. CTE items were used for that curriculum.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we were voting on the whole thing and not splitting it up.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the public? We have a motion and a second for a district-wide motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Tony, if you responded, I didn't hear you.
I guess, I think I'm gonna vote no.
Oh, okay, I apologize. All those opposed?
No.
Thank you. All right, majority voted yes, so motion passes. Moving on to rescinding the approval of the contract for the maintenance and facilities director. Mr. Conan, would you like to take us through that one?
Sure. Having studied a lot of the salaries in Class A schools and similar schools, I felt it necessary. There are several different positions that are well below the rest of Class A salaries, and I am starting first with this one. I feel like Mr. Hackey, 18 years of experience, and raising his up still puts his salary closer to the range of other maintenance directors in Class A. And so this is rescinding the contract that we had and then going forward with a new contract. It's a difference of $2,500 on the
Excellent. So to be able to do this, we need to make a motion and second the rescinding. And then we would proceed to make a motion, and then we would have a conversation about it, and then we would proceed, if it passes, to make a motion and a second to approve the new contract. Does that sound correct? Okay, thank you very much. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to rescind the approval of the contract for the maintenance and facilities director.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Billy. We have a first and a second, a motion and a second. Are there any further questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Excellent, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of rescinding Mr. Hackey's current contract or proposed contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. So moving on to the approval of the new contract for Mr. Hackey. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the new contract for Mr. Hackey.
Excellent. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That one to Gail, Billy and Gail. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there further questions about this item from the public? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the new contract for maintenance and facilities director, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to letter H of our agenda, consideration of approval to attempt to run a technology levy for November 3rd, 2026 election. Mr. Conan, can you walk us through the?
Sure, I think both of us will speak to it a little bit. Obviously, we've had to make some big cuts, and there'll be an article coming out in our local paper here in the next month and a half, probably a month or so, kind of detailing and explaining some of the cuts that we had to make because of the Gale technology levy. Coming up this fall is election, obviously in person, and we discussed this with the resource committee on what the best plan of action is going forward. We had lots of discussion around the fact that of some of the reasons why the tech levy didn't pass from what board members have heard and from what we heard. And we talked a lot about making sure that we continue to look at the narrative that we have and look at the amount that we're asking for, which are not having to be decided tonight. The only thing that we're having to decide tonight is whether an intent to run a tech levy. I can tell you there will be added cuts continuous until we figure out how to hopefully pass some type of a levy going forward. Whether it is a tech levy in the fall or an operational levy next spring, we need to work as a team and unite and talk about how we can figure out the funding moving forward. And I'll have Glenda speak to it a little bit more.
So yeah, tonight is only the intent for us to run. If we want to be on the November ballot, we do have to have this turned in by the end of this week to the county. We can at any time cancel that if we decide later that we don't want to run it this November. But if we do not approve this piece and submit it to the county, then we do not have the ability to get on the ballot for November. The reason we would like to be on the ballot for November is that it is an in-person election versus the absentee mail ballot. And we're just hoping for a better turnout that way. So that would be, our recommendation is that we do place the intent to the county this week so that we have that option available to us, and then dive into what amounts do we want to do and things like that.
Could the two of you speak a little bit to the logistics of, we talked a little bit about, is the tech levy still the right fit for us versus running an operational levy, but also the timing of it and the logistics of why we're talking about a tech levy for this fall without sort of asking those questions at this time?
Sure. One of the things with a technology levy is the money has specific requirements of how it can be spent. When we go for an operational levy, it can be spent on pretty much everything that goes with operations. And so what's happened in other districts that have done away with their tech levies are that and this is just because of the funding model that we have, the operational levy gets eaten up by the continued increase in prices and salaries and benefits that are part of encompassed inside the general fund. And that technology money that you could use in that general fund continues to shrink. And so that's why I guess I would recommend in talking with other superintendents as well as our state association, the fact that making sure that we possibly have to go for both for this next year. If we are looking at several different things coming down the line to be fiscally responsible to our voters, but in the same sense, we also have a responsibility to our staff and students to put the best people for retention and recruitment in front of them, as well as the best curriculum, instruction, and assessment tools that we can use for them. And so, again, looking at changing the narrative, I think moving forward is important to discuss. But again, not tonight. I think tonight is just whether the intent to run a technology levy is on the docket. I would recommend that we go for the technology levy in the fall. Another aspect of this is voters aren't necessarily going to see the bond that we're paying off currently this June. Not going to see it on their tax bills until when they make that decision of having to vote. And so that would be, I think, a caveat to our community, letting them know that the bond comes off, and similar to the same words and mantra that we've been using, help alleviate some of the taxpayers' burden with that bond coming off. And so the timing obviously is not the best, but at this point, I worry about running both of them at the same time in the spring, which is an option we could do. Kind of lay that out there with the resource committee. So if any people on the resource committee want to speak to this a little bit more than what we've done here. If you haven't seen the notes and all the links to other information that's on the school board dashboard that has the resource committee ongoing agenda on there that has this, that's another place to find information or to keep up with what each of the committees are doing.
Is there a piece of it also that, that we cannot run an operational levy in the fall? That we can run a tech levy at any time, but the operational levy has to happen in the spring?
There are some pieces to that we do have on what we can and cannot run outside of a general school election, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So back to the timing of when, so the current bond that we paid off, the next collection that won't happen until the May collection of taxes, is that correct? Or April or May or whatever it is?
It should come off of their November when they get their, they should see it then,
Okay.
yes,
So the timing of this, doing it in November,
yes.
the message might be, hey, you're dropping this and we're gonna put a little bit back. And so I think maybe from a timing standpoint, that is good timing.
Which is also why I said previously when I talked about paying off the bond, is that we do want to put some statements out there, like it is paid, thanking the banks that helped us, doing a little bit of publicity with it too, over the next few months.
Yeah, so it could still be a net savings to the taxpayer at the end of the day, and fund this.
And won't the retired tech levy also be off?
It
Their
comes
tax
off as,
bill?
yes, yep, that will.
At that point, so they
it's
will
done.
have a reduction of no tech levy and no bond.
Stephanie? Yes, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, to what Chris is talking about, so I contacted the local tax office and I asked them about their billing cycle. Because I think that, I don't disagree, we need the funds, right? My concern is that, I'm a visual person for one, I wanna see it, right? And so I contacted the tax office and they mailed the tax bills off the end of October, beginning of November. So there is a chance that some people are not going to see that decrease before they go in to vote, especially those who are absentee voters. And I will tell you, we have a huge number of absentee voters in our community. So when they get those absentee ballots, they automatically fill them out. If they haven't seen that reduction, my concern is that we have another failed ballot. And so another failed levy, sorry. And so my concern is that the more times it fails, if we keep putting stuff in front of the tax stuff in front of them, because the other thing that I didn't notice that my husband noticed when he was filling out his is that it says on the ballot tax increase. I was just filling mine out, right?
Yeah.
But it says on there on that mail-in ballot tax increase. And so I would assume that wording is always gonna be on there because it is a tax increase.
And that
right?
wording has to legally be on there.
And so anyway, so I think y'all are getting my point, is that my concern, not that we shouldn't run it, and my concern is that some of the voters are not gonna see that drop off their bill beforehand. And with them not having that visual of that, are we setting ourselves up for another failed levy only to go back and ask them a third time? And that's my concern.
Hear what you're saying, I think it's up to us to educate ahead of that.
That's very true.
And populate we can go get what the decrease in the bond is for at least always do $100,000 out property, whatever it is, but, and then what the ad is of this levy, so you can see the net savings.
Right,
I think
and
it's
I
up to
guess,
us to get that out as soon.
no, and I completely agree. I just know that we worked really hard to do that this last time, and it still failed. And so,
But we didn't have the story of, hey, we're reducing taxes. So
we
that's
did, no, we did. We used that
Well, we said
this
it's
last
coming.
time.
But it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So.
An opportunity to keep talking with the public. I will open the floor to a motion, and then if there's further questions or comments at that point, we can wrap that up. Is there a motion on the technology levy?
I'll make a motion.
Jen?
I move that we approve the intent to run a technology levy for the November 3rd, 2026 election.
Is there a second?
Second.
Billy, Jen and Billy. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there further questions from the board? There are questions from the public? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the intent to run a technology
You know what I
levy
just realized that, this section needs to be done for elementary and high school.
separately.
Yes.
Well done. Okay, I think we need to walk back the second and then the motion. Did you care to?
I just realized that it needs to be for elementary and.
Billy,
I'll
would you?
rescind the second.
Thank
I
you.
will rescind my motion.
Excellent, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the intent to run a technology levy for the elementary school district on November 3rd, 2026 election? Billy, is there a second?
Second.
Gail. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from the board? From the public? Hearing none, for the elementary district, Gail, how do you vote? Aye. Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote? Tony votes no. I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
How do you vote?
Aye.
Chris? Sorry, Brain?
Nay.
Fran, you vote nay. Motion passes 5-2 for the elementary district. Moving on to, is there a motion to approve the intent to run a technology levy for the high school district for November 3rd, 2026 election?
So moved.
From Jen, is there a second?
A second.
That's Chris?
Yep.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Is there further question or comment from the board? Questions or comments from the public? All right, this is for the high school district, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no.
Nay.
Motion passes 6-2. Thank you. Moving on to, well, let me check in real quick. Do we need a 5-minute break or try to push through on these last several agenda items? Push through?
For sure.
Okay, excellent. Moving on to approval of the budget amendment for the elementary school district. Mr. Cronin?
This is the second reading of the elementary district budget amendment. In order to get this done correctly, it requires going to the board twice. And so again, this is the same information that we proposed last board meeting in May. And that's anything else, Ellen?
No, just the second reading of it.
Okay, so we've all had this information now for a couple of months. So is there a motion, and then we can have questions and discussion if needed?
I'm happy to make a motion.
Fran?
I move for the approval of the second reading of the elementary district budget amendment as presented.
Thank you, Fran. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Billy. We have a motion and a second for the approval of the second reading for the elementary district budget amendment as presented. Are there any questions or comments from the board? None? Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, and an elementary district motion. Gail, how do you vote?
Aye.
Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to approval on the second reading for the high school district budget as amended. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the second reading of the budget amendment for the high school district.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Fran. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the second reading of the high school district budget amendment as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent, motion passes, thank you very much. Moving on to the approval of the multi-district agreement between Stevensville Elementary School District and the Stevensville High School District. Mr. Conan, can you tell us about that?
Sure. So every 3 years, the multi-district agreement must be voted on by the school board. And this is an agreement between both our elementary and our high school district. This creates a fund or an account where specific funds can be transferred into this account, similar to like a savings account. You can read more about it. It's part of MCA 20-3-363 and under multi-district agreements and fund transfers. And so this is something that comes up every 3 years. In order for us to be able to continue it, we need to, in order to transfer, we need it to be agreed on through a motion.
Excellent. And you guys all had a chance to review that in your packet. Is there a motion? And then we can have questions and comments.
I'll make a motion to approve the multi-district agreement between Stevensville Elementary School District and Stevensville High School District.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Fran. We have a motion and a second, and this pertains to the full district, so Jen gets to vote on this. Yeah, okay. Are there questions and comments from the board regarding this agreement? Questions and comments from the public? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the multi-district agreement between Stevensville Elementary District and High School District for the next 3 years. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Moving on to the approval of the transportation agreement with the Lone Rock Elementary School District for the year 2026 through 2027. Also available in your packets, sorry.
I'm sorry. This is an annual agreement between Lone Rock School District and ourselves. It allows us to be able to pick up students in their district. For example, if you have a high school student that has siblings that live in Lone Rock District, they allow them to ride our bus into town. So we have to have this agreement in order for us to keep the students that we have. It's kind of a family situation, as well as we use it for some special ed situations as well. And so this is an agreement that the Lone Rock board also has to pass. And so we look at it, each of the superintendents look at it each year to update anything on it, and it is updated as recently here. So need a motion.
Excellent, thank you very much. Is there a motion before questions and conversation?
I'll make a motion to approve the transportation agreement between Lone Rock Elementary School District and the Stevensville School District for the 2026-2027 school year.
Thank you, Fran. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Gail. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments about the transportation agreement? Any questions from the public about this agreement? Hearing none, this is between the Stevensville School District and not elementary specifically, is that true?
I believe it is
No, it is
elementary.
elementary.
It is
Because it allows
elementary.
elementary students to ride the bus if they have a high school student here.
Okay, very good. Gail, how do you vote?
Aye.
Skip, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Billy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
Excellent. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to approval of curriculum for AP Biology. We had a nice conversation about this and a good presentation. Is there a motion before questions and comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the AP curriculum for biology.
Motion by Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
That's Chris. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do you have questions and comments from the board?
I just have one comment, Stephanie, that I just want to make sure to point out, it was discussed, but I want to point out that it's in the contract, that this is a 6-year. They support us for 6 years, And I would assume that includes the ebooks, correct? So that is a huge expense that is, when you're looking at the ebooks, that is a huge expense to cover us for over a 6-year period of time that is not necessarily in those books that we're looking at online.
Thank you, Fran. Any other board comment? Skip.
So this is a one-time purchase for 6 years, is that correct? We don't expect any additional money going into that particular purchase?
I can't foresee anything other than, I don't think we'll need, we've had people that have taught these books before. I was thinking of professional development, but we'll cover that in-house with professional development.
Thank you, Skip. Other questions from the board?
Is this money to pay for this coming out of charter school money or general funds?
Charter school.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions? Questions from the public? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Motion passes 7-1. Moving on to approval of curriculum per AP Physics. Again, we were presented this information, so do I hear a motion, and then we can have questions and comments.
I move to approve the AP curriculum for physics.
Second.
Jen and Billy. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. What questions do we have from the board?
Have those same questions, is charter school money or general fund?
Charter school.
Charter.
Okay.
Any further questions? Questions from the public? Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the recommended curriculum for AP Physics. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna vote no.
Motion passes 7-1. Thank you all. Excellent. Moving on to approval of policies. Mr. Conan or Policy Committee, you want to lead us through that?
Sure, I can get support from them as well. We have first reading for 1400. These are changes from Montana School Board Association's policy, switching over to Calaveras Law's policy. Within that, we're also proposing, the policy committee is proposing, changing the start time of regular board meetings to 6:30. That's the first one, 1400. I can speak to second reading now, or we can go first. Anything else from the committee?
I would just add, so I kind of initiated this, and so let me explain myself. I know that it's come up before.
Are you speaking primarily to the time change piece of it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So the 6:30, let me get my thoughts together, sorry. So the part of the reason that I brought this forward is we tend to have longer meetings, and we're here very late at night. And so if we do it a little earlier, hopefully that will help us not be late. The other piece of that is we have staff members that try very hard and make a really good effort and do a great job of being here. But that means they have to stay later. So I know it's only 30 minutes, but 30 minutes is 30 minutes, and it gives them that time to not have to hang out even longer waiting for a meeting. One of the arguments in the past, when I was on that side of the table, about moving it to 6:30 was that it kept people from coming that wanted to participate. Hamilton does their meetings at 6:30. It doesn't keep people from participating. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't change that as well and make it earlier and hopefully be able to get out of here earlier and to benefit our staff as well. That being said, we need to make sure that everyone is also available to be able to do that once a month at 6:30.
I don't mind the 6:30 so much, but what it does for me is that makes the hour meeting ahead of time at 5:30 now. And I don't think
That's very valid.
And I really value that additional hour ahead of time. I think that's been super valuable for me, at least. So I would be opposed to going to 6:30. For that reason.
Other board comment?
Are there a lot of meetings prior to the regular board meeting within the school year?
I would say it goes in bits and spurts. It's not an uncommon occurrence. Half, maybe, yeah.
How many did we do this last year? This last school year? Maybe
We've had a lot.
Yeah, we've had at least 5.
We've had a lot.
I will say that for me, it's about, can board members be here and can board members be here, I guess, easily enough that we're not walking in frantic, that we have a chance to have dinner or a snack so that we're in a good space for making decisions, right? The other really important thing about these public board meetings is that the public is here. Granted. But the public that attends these meetings, it's really important for me to know, and I'm including you guys in this, it's really important for me to know what works for you, because this meeting is being held in front of you for that reason, so that you can be here. So, in my mind, when this first came up, I kind of wanted to do a survey and throw that out to people, but then we're getting feedback from a lot of people who aren't actually vested and don't actually come, and they would have a lot of opinions. So there are a few more people that do come pretty regularly, and we just lost one of them like 5 minutes ago, so that's unfortunate. But anyway, if you guys have any public comment on this matter, admin feedback, I would find that valuable.
I would like it earlier as an admin. I mean, we're here probably 6:37 a.m., 7:30, if you're me. But I would say that it is tough because we also stay, so the earlier I'd say the better. I also think about my families, like of our younger students, probably be easier for them to get here earlier. I don't know what the team's thoughts are.
Personally, with a smaller child, I am one parent, like not talking, I have a small child, not being a small child. I have a 1-year-old, so thinking of families with small children, it would be nice to try to be home by bedtime, to help with bath, bed, so 30 minutes earlier is really helpful. But I also understand the earlier meetings, it's hard to get to that if you're trying to get there at 5:30 and your day doesn't end until 5. So I can see both sides of it.
Most challenging part, I think, in my opinion, is not necessarily when board meetings start, it's when they end. When it's 9:30 and 10 o'clock and 10:30. I feel like that's too long of a meeting to be productive, right? I don't expect kids to sit in their seats for hours and hours and hours and hours on end without some kind of a break, whether that's recess or lunch or something like that. I feel like we lose steam, and so it's not necessarily to me where, when the time is, it's just when board meetings have wrapped up.
And I will say with John being the superintendent, there is more of an emphasis on us getting all the information to you guys in a timely manner, like how to get out before, like the Thursday before, the Friday before is huge, because we could definitely use that weekend to like add stuff to the board packet, but we do make an effort to get it out early so you guys have time to review the information beforehand. I think that's really important and will help hopefully cut down meeting time as well.
Thank you for that.
My name is Kay Gibbons. Speaking as somebody who's been to these board meetings pretty regularly for the last several years, once a month, 6:30, I think maybe, the schedule, I get it. There's schedules on both sides, the younger kids, the people who are just getting off of work, but one time a month, 6:30, I would appreciate it, because it gets late.
I like the 7 o'clock meeting, sorry.
And
I do come to all of these meetings. I'm here at school at 7:30. I also have time then to go home and fix dinner and have it ready for my family. And then I get to eat. I've yet to eat yet, so I honestly, I don't think it's gonna shorten your meeting. It's gonna make them just
I
go.
was just gonna say that. Is it
It's
really
gonna go
going
the
to?
same length as it goes now, because you're like, oh, well, we have an extra half hour to do this tonight, versus rush it through, so.
I agree. There doesn't really seem to be a super emphasis on when we end. And,
It's a conversation.
They
we
go
could have.
crazy sometimes.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm
Nope,
sorry.
you're fine.
But yeah, no, that is a conversation we could have as well. For this,
So I
You've had that.
agree with
Previously.
But not.
Vicky that I personally appreciate the 7 o'clock, but I know for me, when I heard that the admin was behind moving it earlier, that to me was something important. I do think there are ways we can speed up these meetings. I don't think they need to or should take as long as they do. I do think that we do have all the information provided to us before the meeting. I know I find times somewhere between when we get that packet on, Wednesday, Thursday, before Monday, and I have time to at least scroll through it, and ask questions if I need to. So I think we do need to work on some time management. I think it is possible. I've seen other schools who get their meetings done in an hour and a half on a bad day, with equal agendas. I'm kind of open to it. I think with this being a first reading, I think we can kind of sit with this idea and come back and talk about it more if we need to, because we're not approving anything today.
I like that idea. I like that idea. And I would also kind of vote in favor of moving through a first reading and letting it sit a little bit and reevaluating it second reading as needed.
Maybe a conversation about the end of the meeting time.
I like that. That said, the floor is open for a motion there is just one policy to be approved for first reading. If anybody would care to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of policy 1400 and send it to its second reading next month.
Second from Skip. We have a first and a second. Are there further questions or comments about policy 1400? From the public, questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to our batch of second readings. Mr. Conan?
Sure. 1441 is the first one we're looking at. That's one we had removed another policy. This goes with Cal Law's policy on audience participation. And nothing has changed from first reading to second reading on that one. In 3310 and 3612 and 5460, the technology, the AI task force, as well as the school improvement team reviewed the policy, and there was some pieces we felt like, some words that we felt like needed to be put in there to make sure that we cover everything that is for, especially with imagery. We talked about the fact that imagery without it in these policies just talks about images and not taking part with not covering video. And so imagery covers both video and still pictures on there. The other part was in 3310 for student discipline, We wanted to make sure that we covered all of the other areas by adding inappropriate, so it's in yellow in your packet. And again, 3612 is imagery, 5460 is imagery, but we also put in a stipulation we didn't feel like was in there for staff. And so we added staff may not use AI tools in such a way that violates this acceptable use policy or to disseminate, generate, or access harmful or inappropriate content. Staff may not use AI tools to violate copyright or other laws. We didn't feel like that was covered inside of there, and we proposed that to the policy committee. Policy committee agreed to bring that forward to you to review.
Excellent. Is there a motion on these 4 policies for on second reading?
I'll make a motion to approve on second reading policies 1441, 3310, 3612, and 5460 with the additions brought forward.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Billy. We have a motion and a second. Are there further questions or comments from the board about these 4 policies? Questions or comments from the public? Excellent. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. This concludes our board business for the evening, unless there's any scheduling, custodial.
Yeah, I was looking at a date for that retreat. And so I'm hoping Via's got open the 29th
Of June or July?
of June.
I will be out of town.
Or other dates, I guess. We would love to find a date that includes everybody.
That would be ideal. Could we see if she has other dates and we could send them all out as soon as she sends them to us?
I think you'll be pushing into July with that, but that's okay.
Is it with adoption? See, nothing good happens after a however long meeting. Looking at goals and objectives, does that push it for planning?
Obviously that pushes it into, for past the 9th of July, that pushes it into the August meeting.
Gotcha.
But, which is, could be fine. But I like to do the planning with the admin team on our goals and objectives in August, just before the school year starts.
Okay.
Well, and if it's an okay time for everybody else.
Right. Well, let's see what we can do. If she has any other dates available, we can put them out there, and if we can't get the whole board together, we'll do our very best, but let's see if we.
Would you task me with maybe putting out, there's a tool that's free that you can put out a whole bunch of dates for the board, and we can find what date works best for the whole board.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is the meeting an all-day event too?
Okay. Yeah.
Just want to make sure what to
Yeah.
block
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And if everybody can watch their emails for that and promptly reply so we can get on the schedule. All right, thank you very much. Yep, that was Sarah Cohen. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? All those in favor? Aye. All right, see you later. Thanks, guys.
Just these students.